All right, so this is part 2 where we're converting back and forth between our Hindu Arabic numerals that are base 10 and other bases. So here we're going from our type of numbers, base 10, to other bases. And I've written out the steps because this is the direction that's a little more challenging. So let's go ahead and take it step by step. Number 1, it says list the numerals of the new base. Well, we were doing that before. So for it says convert 6 to base 2. So in a base 2 system, we only have 0 and 1. And then it says list the positional values of the new base. Well, let's see. We have 1, 2 to the first, the 2 squareds place, the 2 cubes place, and so on. Now, notice I did 1, 2 to the first is 2, and 2 squared is 4. I'm actually writing these numbers out. Notice what it says in part 3 in our steps. Start by dividing the base 10 numeral by the largest positional value that is less than the base 10 numeral. So in this case, we're dealing with 6, and 4 is less than 6, but if we went to 2 cubed, that would be 8, which is not less. And so we're only going to be using 4, 2, and 1 here. All right, so here's, and then notice what it says next. Then divide each remainder. Let's see, start by dividing the base, the base 10 numeral. In that case, or in this case, that's 6, by the largest positional value that is less than the base 10 numeral. Then divide each remainder by the next positional value until you get to 1. So let me show you what I mean by that. So we're going to take our 6 and we're going to divide by the first positional value that's less than 6. Well, we said that was 4, so we're dividing by 4 here. So 4 goes into 6 once. 1 times 4 is 4, and of course when we subtract we get 2. And so now we're going to move our 2 to the dividend in the next division, and now we're going to divide by our next our next positional value, which is 2. 2 divided by 2, well, 2 goes in 2 one time. 1 times 2 is 2, and when we subtract we get 0. And so then again, we'll take our remainder and move it to the next division as the dividend. And our divisor is our positional value. It's going to be the ones place. And so how many times does 1 go into 0? 0 times. 0 times 1 is 0, and when we subtract, we get 0. And so we're done here. We've divided by all the positional values until we get to 1. So our answer is 110, and so 6 is equal to 110 base 2. One of the things I want you to notice, let me change colors here. Let's use black. Is each time we were dividing, our divisor was these positional values. So just be careful that you're always dividing by the positional value. All right, so if you want to try it on number 8, you can, or you can watch me do another example. We're still going to do a couple more of these. All right, so again, we'll write out our numerals. In a base 4 system, it's 0, 1, 2, and 3. And then we'll write out our place values. So let's see, you don't need to go all the way up to 4 to the 4th power. What you want to do is you should be looking at these powers of 4. And notice if you go to 4 cubed, well, see, 4 squared is 16, and that's smaller than 53. But 4 cubed would be 64, and that's not smaller. So again, we're going to divide by the largest positional value that's less than our base 10 number. So in this case, that would be 16. So we're going to take 53 and divide by 16, the first positional value we're going to divide by. And when we do that, let's see, 2 times 16 is 32, 3 times 16 is 48, so that's going to be the 1. So we get 48, and when we subtract, we get 5. And so we're going to move that 5 to be in the dividend, or to be our dividend again. And now we'll divide by the next positional value, which is 4. So we're basically saying how many 4s are in 5. And so 4 goes into 5 one time. 1 times 4 is 4, and when we subtract, we get 1. So we'll move our remainder to be the next dividend again, and we're always again dividing by our positional value, which will be 1 next. 1 goes into 1 one time. 1 times 1 is 1, and when we subtract, we get 0. And so hopefully you were able to do this one. You should get 311. So 53 is 311 base 4. We could say 311 base 4, but as we get into bigger numbers, it's not as easy to figure out how you would actually say these numbers. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. And actually, this is the last one, and I would challenge you to see if you can do it. This is the hardest one. You've got to be careful. You're going to run into something here. All right, so let's see how you did. So first of all, our numerals are 0, 1, and 2. And our place values, well, let's see, this is base 3, so it'll be 1 and then 3 to the first and so on. I did up to 3 to the 6th. Now, if you actually write out your powers, you'll see that 3 to the 5th power is 243, and 3 to the 6th power is 729. So 729 is too big. And so the largest positional value that's less than our base 10 number, which is 347, is 243. So we're going to take 347, and we'll start by dividing by 243. Well, 243 only goes into 347 one time. 1 times 243 is 243. When we subtract, we get 104. And so 104 will be moved up to become our dividend, and we're going to divide by the next positional value, which is 81. Well, 81 goes into 104 once. 1 times 84 is 81, and when we subtract, we get 23. So I'll go ahead and move 23 up, and now we'll divide by the next positional value, which is 27. So here's where you have to be careful. 27 does not go into 23. It's too big. It goes into 23 0 times. 0 times 27 is 0. And when you subtract, you get 23. And so now I'll move 23 up, and I'll divide by the next positional value, which is 9. Well, 9 goes into 23 2 times, and 2 times 9 is 18. When you subtract, you're going to get 5. And now we'll move 5 up to be our next dividend, and we'll divide by our next positional value, which is 3. 3 goes into 5 2 times, or not 2, how about 1? 1 times 3 is 3. When we subtract, we get 2. And then we'll move our remainder up to be the last dividend, and we'll divide by our last positional value or place value, which is 1. 1 goes into 2 2 times. 2 times 1 is 2, and when we subtract, we get 0. So we have our answer here, and it's 1, so 347 is equal to 110212 base 3. And that's it for this video.